And on Good Morning Nigeria today, we shall discuss advancing traditional medicine in Nigeria.
Now, Nigeria and other African countries are blessed with substantial number of plant species that have medicinal value, some of which are discovered while many are yet to be discovered and harnessed.
Well, available data indicates that Nigeria has well over 8,000 species of plants with potential benefits in ethnomedicine or ethnopharmacy.
Well, Kingsley, you know, traditional medicine has been and is still being used in the treatment and prevention of diseases, especially in the rural communities in Africa.
Now, reports indicate that about 70% of people use alternative medicine, either wholly or in combination with other modern drugs, and this attests to the significance of complementary medicine in the healthcare delivery system.
And Nigeria's Minister of Health, Dr. Osage Henry, said 25 to 45% of pharmaceutical drugs in use today are derived from traditional medicinal plants in different parts of the globe.
So, as the world battles with the COVID-19 pandemic, traditional medicine practitioners are also seeking to contribute to the search for a treatment or cure for the virus.
Perhaps this venture necessitated the theme for this year's African Traditional Medicine Day, which is Traditional Medicine Research and Development.
Now, the theme is meant to promote the role of research and development in enhancing traditional medicine in healthcare delivery, particularly the relevance of herbs and roots in the treatment of diseases.
So how can the traditional medicine bill galvanize to facilitate achieving universal health coverage and the Sustainable Development Goals SDGs? What should be done to include the alternative medicine in medical studies in our institutions? What steps should Nigeria take to benefit more from global herbal medicine market estimated at $7 trillion by 2050? What has been done to standardize the traditional medicine products in the country in line with international standard? Well, this is Good Morning Nigeria, the second for the week. I am Jumbo Yusuf. You're welcome.
And I'm Kingsley Osadolo. I join my colleague Jumai to also welcome you to the program, warmly I should say, because here today it's chilly and very wet outside in Nigeria's capital territory, from where we are broadcasting live as always on the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority. We are Africa's largest TV network. In the course of our program, we typically will bring you complimentary segments, and those of course will include newspaper review and others. In the meantime, let's join Ifoma Ojinta with the highlights of the morning news. Good morning, Ifoma.
Good morning, Kingsley, and Jumai. Here is the morning news. Our tripartite executive, legislative and leadership of the APC Consultative Committee has been inaugurated in a deliberate attempt at enhancing democracy and good governance in the country. President Muhammadu Buhari, who performed the ceremony, promised to lead and find solutions as he places great faith in the committee towards improving service delivery to Nigerians.
We must admit to ourselves that our party has been too often embroiled in bitter and on occasions totally unnecessary squabbles, costing us seats in legislative and gubernatorial elections. These never should have happened. We are here to make sure such occurrences do not happen again. We must now ensure regular consultations between the party and the governments.
Still from the presidency, President Muhammadu Buhari has granted audience to the General Overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Pastor Enoch Adiboye. State House correspondent Ademo Sambo reports that their discussions, which held behind closed doors, lasted about 1 hour. At the meeting were Vice President Yemi Oshibajo and Chief of Staff to the President, Professor Ibrahim Gambari, but details were not made public. President Muhammadu Buhari formally played host to the clergyman for the first time in February 2016. Pastor Adeboye also met the Nigerian leader in August 2017 in London. Information and Culture Minister Lai Mohammed has expressed confidence in the ingenuity of Nigerian engineers to fast-track the nation's development strides. The minister stated this in Lagos when he visited the Department for Petroleum Resources, DPR.
They are dedicated men and women who are keeping sleepless nights to ensure that this country continues to survive. That while we are writing what we want to write, there are some people who are risking their lives to ensure that this ship of state does not capsize.
The Supreme Court has affirmed the election of Yahaya Bello as governor of Kogi State. The decision followed the dismissal of two separate appeals filed by Musa Wada of the PDP and Natasha Akpoti of the Social Democratic Party, SDP, challenging the re-election of Yahaya Bello as governor of Kogi State. And for an update on COVID-19, the Nigeria Center for Disease Control has confirmed 143 new cases of COVID-19 in 18 states of the Federation. A breakdown of the figures shows that Plateau State still has the highest confirmed cases of 35, followed by Kaduna State with 21, then Lagos with 19 cases, FCT has 13, Ebonyi State records 9, Adamawa, Enugu and Katsina states have 7 new cases each. Others are Edo State with 6 new cases, Kwara has 5, Osun 3, Anambra, Kano, Niger and Ogun states have 2 new cases each, while Benue, Borno and Sokoto states have 1 case each. So far, Nigeria has 54,008 confirmed cases of COVID-19, out of which 41,638 patients were discharged, while 1,013 have died of the virus. Meanwhile, the Presidential Task Force on COVID-19 has expressed concern over what it called the alarming reduction in sample collection and testing for COVID-19 in the states, which accounts for the low number of confirmed cases in recent time. Chairman of the task force, Boss Mustafa, says there is more work to be done at the sub-national levels.
In spite of our enhanced testing capacity, the number of samples collected for testing have not been very encouraging. We still urge the states to expand the scope of their sample collection.
One state, for example, tested over 35,000 in July and less than 20,000 in August, while another dropped from 23,000 in July to about 4,000 in August.
International agencies and the federal government have come up with a spotlight initiative to end rape and other forms of gender-based violence in Nigeria. The initiative focuses on tackling the root causes of these social vices.
The initiative is also innovative in that it seeks to catalyze a profound shift in the gender-based violence landscape with a vision for transformative change.
It's very, very important that accountability is brought to bear for violations of these rights.
The ministry has lined up a series of collaborative activities, which among others are aimed at addressing the administrative and policy gaps and providing quality service to survivors and ensuring social justice for victims.
That's the morning news. The program continues with Jummai and Kinsley after this break.
She cries. She cries in anguish and in pain. She bears the scourge of her grief. She toils in vain for justice and succumbs to silence. He gloats over his malady. Like a beast, he pounces with no remorse. Her cry means nothing. Her pain feeds her shame. Like an orphan, she's left to grieve in solitude. But no more will she cry in vain. Her adversaries will henceforth bear the brunt of their cruelty. Rape is evil. Rape is a plague, a pandemic of monumental consequences. We must unite and kick it out of our society.
Connect with NTA and stand against rape and rapists. This message is brought to you by the Nigerian Television Authority, NTA.
Thanks for rejoining us. Federal government enjoined to make agricultural sector more active as COVID-19 continues to impact on economies. Let's join Kunle Ade for details.
The sharp fall in the second quarter GDP figures is the outcome of the restriction placed on movements by the federal government to prevent the spread of COVID-19 and the drop in the price of crude oil. Though government has allayed the fears and assured Nigerians that the economy is on course to bounce back, the focus of the federal government is to ensure that the GDP does not contract in the next quarter. An investment and financial analyst, Niyi Akinshiju, urged the federal government to include agriculture as it plans to strengthen the economy. He emphasized that the revolution witnessed in the sector should be sustained.
The inherent economic culture of Nigeria is agriculture. That is the gift nature, bequeathed to us. So it is what we want to do with it. Some countries don't have that opportunity. They don't have that gift. And they have to resort to scientifically, technological, creative ways, to tap into it.
And next, details of Monday, August 31's trading on the floor of the Nigerian Stock Exchange. With business news, I'm Kunle Ade.
Many thanks, Kunle, there for the business package. Next is newspaper review.
Today we have the Daily Trust newspaper, and just below the masthead, Darussalam military hands over 778 women and children to states representatives. We find the details on page 38. Buhari, APC embroiled in bitter unnecessary squabbles. Details on page 34. Reps conduct probes not backed by House resolutions. That's coming from the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, and that story is on page 6. The headlines on the Daily Trust newspaper indicates discordant tunes over school resumptions. With riders, federal government warns states against hasty reopening. It is suicidal to reopen universities. That's attributed to ASU. Osun set to reopen as Lagos disowns resumption calendar. Mixed reactions by students. And the picture story there, aviation workers protest near the Federal Airport Authority of Nigeria office at the Murtala Mohammed International Airport in Ikeja, Lagos yesterday over alleged plans by the federal government to concession major airports in the country. And at the bottom plate of the Daily Trust newspaper, concession, like I read earlier with the picture story, unions vow to cripple aviation industry. You find details on page 16. At the bottom plate of the Daily Trust newspaper, troops neutralize bandits, rescue kidnapped victims in Katsina. You find details on page 38. Sodomy, teacher in net for defiling students in Kanu. Find details on page 8. Jubilation in Kogi as South Supreme Court affirms Bello's re-election. That story is on page 34.
Well, Jumai, we already informed our viewers that it's a very wet morning here in Abuja, and so we have just one newspaper that has come in, which is the Daily Trust, and the headlines from the window page, what you have also just read. I think there are a number of stories there that are of interest. The lead story relating to the discordant tunes over the resumption of schools with Lagos State government denying the earlier report that schools were due to resume later this month. Well, I think it's significant that the governments streamlined, that's to say the federal and state governments streamlined the resumption of schools, particularly.
Make it uniform.
Well, it doesn't necessarily have to be uniform, but if they can streamline it, the better it will be for all. For instance, it's worked now that you had pupils in exit classes resume to write their examinations, and those examinations are ongoing. They should be concluded.
On the 4th.
That's the WASC of it, should be concluded this month. And then sometime next month, you have the NECO also take off. But it is resumption that matters. Now, if they are resuming, what term are they resuming for? Will it be the second or third term? I think those are issues that they need to clarify. And then also sort it out to say how many weeks are the pupils supposed to be in school for before they wrap it up and then proceed. Unless, of course, some decision was taken earlier regarding the promotion for pupils who were in the next class. That's to say, if they used the second term examinations and then the first term exam and continuous assessment, it might be easier to say, look, okay, we would arrange for mass promotion. Alternatively, since there was some measure of online studies that also took place, students might, they might have tutorials for a couple of weeks, then you arrange examinations, and then they scale over, or those who do not scale over get retained in the respective classes before they proceed.
And what arrangements are they making, to ensure the safety of students? Because in the US, I've seen students, a lot of students contacting COVID-19. In the US, the spike is a little bit high. So what measures are they putting in place to ensure that our children are safe in schools?
Well, it should be the same measures that have been put in place with regard to those who are now writing their WASC. Basic sanitation facilities, running water, soap, and then the hand sanitizers, and of course pupils will be required to come with their respective individual face masks, which should be changeable from time to time. It shouldn't be one that is filthy, and then you have pupils also still hanging around with those ones. But yes, you use the example of the US, where pupils have been reported to have contracted coronavirus. But China, the epicenter of coronavirus, is also reopening its schools. And there are no reports just yet of what is happening in terms of an explosion in numbers of new coronavirus cases. Now, the other story of interest is from the photograph on the front page and the headline. That photograph on the front page there relates to workers of Federal Airports Authority demonstrating and saying concession. That's the kicker. Unions vow to cripple aviation industry because the federal government is planning to concession 4 major airports in the country, and the workers are scared of job losses. I think these are issues that, yes, in a sense, workers ordinarily will be concerned about their job security in the event of concession, but efficiency is important. And the labor concerns are also issues that are taken into consideration in any concessioning arrangement that the government will decide to have. There's no question about it that with the concessioning of the ports, for instance, on the western axis of the country, those ports have become increasingly more efficient. And who says that federal airports cannot be better managed than what we have seen over the years?
Yes, under a concession, a lot of people are afraid, we take government job for granted at times. You come to work when you feel like, you do the job when you feel like. But when you're working for a private enterprise, you have to be on your toes, whether you like it or not, or else you'll be out.
I agree with you.
Anguish,
I agree with you. That's a very significant point to make. The attitude that workers normally would have when they are in government employment is different when you are in private employment. So that's part of what is needed to be done in this regard. But if the aviation minister has insisted that there's no going back, and I believe that anyone who is interested in efficiency should go ahead and support them.
We have to move forward with global standards.
Absolutely.
Yes,
absolutely. Now, we just have another paper that has come in, and that's the Punch newspaper. It's slightly wet, but well, the copy I have is slightly wet, but that's fine. We would take a look at the headlines now. Let's take a look at the window page of the Punch newspaper, which has just come in, as I indicated. Above the nameplate, IOC's taxes down by 16.46 billion amid production cuts. That's page 23. Don't ambush Nigerians. Drop water bill. NLC tells National Assembly. That's page 2. APC celebrates as Supreme Court upholds Bello's election. Page 10. APC has lost polls due to unnecessary infighting. That's President Buhari. We also had a bit of that in our news bulletin. 2 earpieces there beside the nameplate. Contractors picket finance ministry over 18 billion naira debt. 2023 presidency, no zoning in APC constitution, says Kalu. That's page 19. Late story, reopening varsities now suicidal, social distancing impossible. That's according to ASU. We have 3 riders there. Strict protocols in place at airports for VIP children resuming schools abroad. That's lecturers. School resumption. Learn from COVID-19 spike in US and Germany, PTF tells states. Decision on next phase of lockdown to be announced on Thursday, says task force. And so those are the riders to that headline. And ASU that is saying that reopening varsities now suicidal and social distancing impossible. They have not said anything about their strike, unless we are to assume that the strike is now of a technical nature, so that if the universities were to resume now, then the lecturers will also resume. What is the status of your strike? That's the question that Nigerian parents and guardians would like answered. Troops rescued 778 family members of dislodged terrorists. Troops rescued 778 family members of dislodged terrorists. That's on page 8. FCT resident doctors begin strike today over COVID-19 allowance. Farm workers, we already discussed that, threaten strike, reject Abuja airport and others concession. Autumn demands Ruga probe, that's page 7. Adeboye declines interview after Villa closed-door meeting with Buhari. Drama as man and family disrupt Lagos wedding. Say bride already married.
Whoa.
Pages 4 and 5. Boko Haram killed 13 district heads and other leaders. That's according to the Shehu of Borno. Details on page 7.
That's a busy headline, cover page of the newspaper there.
Oh, that's right. I was just trying to see the details of the story. It said drama as family and man disrupt Lagos church wedding. Say bride already married. That story, the headline is on the front page there, but you have the details inside. This incident took place at Ifako Ejaye in Lagos, and saying that the bride was his wife. I don't know.
You said was, not is.
Well, it says that they had a son together, but that he became sick after about 5 years, during which time he sold most of his property to seek a cure. And he was said to have later traveled to his hometown in Isiala, Mbano, where he continued the treatment. And that he was on a sick bed when he received information that his wife will be getting married to another man on Saturday, August 19th. Sorry, I'm mixing this up now. August 29th, 2020. And then the man was said to have then developed high blood pressure, which affected his speech. Who wouldn't have high blood pressure when...
Who wouldn't know your wife is getting married to somebody else and you're not even aware?
Well, I thought the officiating priest ordinarily should have done the needful
investigation
by ensuring that there will be no disruptions, to the service. But whatever it is, that's there. But clearly, in law, unless the earlier marriage they had was under native law and custom, but in law, if this is supposed to be under the MCA, which is the Matrimonial Causes Act, it will be void. That'll be an issue because you already have a subsisting marriage, and you cannot therefore legally contract another marriage. But if he then decides to take an action against...
What's the law against bigamy in Nigeria?
Well, the law was always there in the criminal code, but I think it was only one prosecution that took place under the law of bigamy, and that was several decades ago. Already, the Lagos state government has expunged the law of bigamy from its criminal code. So the law of bigamy no longer obtains in Lagos state. I wouldn't know whether other state governments, in other words, other state jurisdictions, have also followed suit. And this is because of the nature of our society, because marriages, of course, get contracted under native law and custom. And in that case, it tends to favor polygamy for those who are so disposed to that direction. But we already discussed a number of the stories that we have on the front page there. Don't ambush Nigerians, drop water bill, NSA test National Assembly. That's a story that has been trending for a while. We do hope that there will be more conversation on the proposed Water Act and what it means and what it doesn't mean, so that the matter is eventually laid to rest. Hopefully. But it's been very hot in terms of public discourse. Now, APC celebrates as Supreme Court upholds Bello's election, page 10. It turns out that when you win an election, particularly a governorship election, you never can be fully seated on your chair, as it were, because you have all kinds of litigation going on from time to time, matters arising from pre-election, matters arising from the conduct of the election itself. Then you await decisions from the Court of First Instance or Tribunal of First Instance right up to the Supreme Court. In this case, the matter would appear to have been rested. Okay, and President Buhari has also, and this is very significant, drawn attention again to the unnecessary infighting, he says, within the APC. And we have seen how in recent months the president has tried to ensure that the party activities are streamlined and discipline is brought to the governing party instead of the great deal of noise and distractions that was present in the recent past. So.
That's newspaper review. We'll take a break now. When we return, our conversation begins.
NTA TV College Jos, an affiliate of Ahmadu Bello University Zaria, is currently admitting students for its ordinary diploma programs in television journalism, television production, and television engineering. Interested candidates are advised to obtain relevant information concerning eligibility at our website at www.ntatvc.edu.ng or marketing department of any NTA station nationwide. For further information, contact Assistant Director, Marketing, NTA TV College Jos on 0803-314-4383 or the Academic Office of the College on 0806-980-9807. Announcer, Registrar.
Everyone has always been faced with a moral question between what is right and what is wrong. Yet not everyone is ready to do the right thing. This is where we come in. We are Jais Bank, committed to making a difference by doing the right thing even if we stand alone. A place where transparency is an attitude and trust is a culture. A place where profit is shared and losses borne together. At Jais Bank, we support you to shape a better tomorrow, a partnership to birth your dreams. Jais Bank, for a better life.
With the emergence of new diseases, governments in various climes are searching for cure through various modes of medicines including alternative medicine. Aisha Oba Ali puts together this report on alternative medicine in Africa as the continent marks Traditional Medicine Day.
Traditional medicine is often termed as alternative or complementary medicine in many countries. However, despite the huge potential of traditional medicine to make Nigeria financially independent, boost primary health care services, and ensure universal health coverage, government at all levels have not given adequate attention to practice compared to the orthodox. And as a way to create more awareness on the relevance of the traditional medicine, a day is set aside annually by African countries for that purpose, which is August 31st. In Nigeria, the federal government has made effort to advance the practice of alternative medicine over the years with the development of the Traditional Medicine Policy for Nigeria 2007, the establishment of the Nigerian Natural Medicine Development Agency, and the Nigerian Institute of Pharmaceutical Research and Development. Experts are of the view that Nigeria can elevate its complementary medicine from being an exporting country to exporting one, thereby generating foreign exchange for the nation. This, they said, is visible in view of the abundant plant species that are potential for the treatment of many diseases, some of which are discovered, while many others are yet to be tapped. According to available reports, Nigeria is home to over 8,000 plants that have medicinal value. Societies have evolved different forms of indigenous healing methods that are captured under the broad concept of alternative medicine and are using them to boost their GDP, such as China, India, and African countries, including Nigeria. However, the global market for all herbal supplements and remedies is set to reach $115 billion by 2020, with Europe being the largest, followed by Asia.
The entire activities of various herbal solutions continue to exert more research and development with various medical institutions. We believe we can do it. Our ancestors have done it before.
But African countries, including Nigeria, are still making efforts to develop their complementary medicine to make it more acceptable, even though a substantial number of people are using the herbs to treat one ailment or the other, especially in rural areas. Perhaps this prompted the theme for this year's day, which is traditional medicine, research and development. So how would research help to improve the alternative medicine in Nigeria? How has traditional medicine contributed to healthcare delivery and even the GDP? What should be done to standardize the product of complementary medicine? Guest on Good Morning Nigeria will provide answers shortly.
Thank you very much, Aisha Obale, for that backgrounder. With us in the studios now to discuss the advancement of traditional medicine in Nigeria, we have at least two of our regular guests with us. First, let me welcome pharmacist Zainab Sharif Ujudud. She's Director and Head of Complementary and Alternative Medicine, Federal Ministry of Health. Pharmacist Zainab, delighted to have you with us again.
It's always home for me. Viewers, nice to be here. Thank you.
Also here, we would like to welcome Professor Yemisi Kunle. She's a Professor of Pharmacognosy and Drug Development, Department of Medicinal Plants Research and Traditional Medicine of the Nigerian Institute of Pharmaceutical Research and Development, NIPRID. Professor Yemisi Kunle, delighted to have you with us this morning.
It's my pleasure.
Okay.
And also joining us is Professor McDonald Idu, Professor of Phytomedicine, University of Benin. It's good to have you join us on Good Morning Nigeria. And Dr. Uzu, Robert Uzu, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, Ruzu Holistic Healthcare. As always, it's a pleasure to have you join us on Good Morning Nigeria.
Pleasure. Thank you.
All right. Always delighted, as I said, having you all with us on Good Morning Nigeria to discuss issues of alternative medicine or complementary medicine. Let's begin the conversation this way. We are focusing today on advancement of traditional medicine in Nigeria. But of course, we're doing this against the background of what has happened to the world and what is still happening to the world on account of the coronavirus pandemic. But certainly, there are a number of issues that are pending with traditional medicine. So let's begin by first asking pharmacist Zainab what the issues are currently with traditional medicine or complementary medicine in Nigeria.
Thank you, Kingsley. Let me start by saying I want to commend the Royal Highness Oni of Ife. We heard that he has laid a foundation for the promotion of African traditional medicine. And I pray that such leaders should be emulated because he believes in Africa and he believes in the need to develop and research on our traditional medicine. Having said that, 31st of every year, August, is declared as the African Traditional Medicine Day. Why? A day set aside by African leaders. In 2001, there was a declaration that Africa should look inwards and promote its own traditional medicine. So there was a decade from 2001 to 2010. After 2010, they reassess what has Africa achieved, what have the countries in Africa achieved in promoting their own African traditional medicine at regional level and then at continental level. So they saw that not much has been achieved. They now again declared another decade. So that decade brought from 2001 to 2020 that there is a need to assess and promote African traditional medicine. So it's a day that we celebrated every year with theme provided by the WHO. For this year, what is the theme? The theme is that 2 decades of African traditional medicine. What progress have the countries made? In this background, you can see that there is a need for us to assess, even at regional level, at African Union level, what has been done. You may wish to know that a lot has been done, but much more could be done better.
All right. Professor Idu, Professor of Phyto Medicine at the University of Benin. From your point of view, what are the issues in traditional medicine against the backdrop of what pharmacist Zainab has just indicated?
Well, I think the major issue still remains the issue of global acceptance. As a country, we have been able to look at how the whole thing, is coming up. And we have noticed that yet we still have this trouble of global acceptance in terms of people, really keen into what traditional medicine is all about. And they have these views that, it's fetish and all that stuff. But the truth of it is that it's trying to, look away from what is right. They look at perhaps the diviners and all that, and they think that that's all about traditional medicine, but it's not true. The herbal component and the areas that are, things you can hold in terms of research and proof or evidence-based medicine, nobody wants to look at that. But I think that it's something we can put on the table in this 2020 to say that, look, we can turn the issue around and make people to see clearly that herbal medicine is not what generally people you see in terms of fetish and in terms of all these things that are not convenient to see with the eyes. But it's perfect, it's nature, and it's an understanding that our environment gives us the protection that we need as humans. So I believe that the issue is there, the issue of acceptance, the issue of trying to relate the orthodox medicine and the traditional medicine, the issue of bringing together the integration of CAM, the complementary and alternative medicine, But here, the Department of TCAM in the Ministry of Health has done so well to see how to harmonize these particular goals. And I think they are doing very, very well.
Okay, thank you. And Professor Yemisi, Dr. Zainab talked, pharmacist Zainab talked about 20 years of a process, 10 years and another 10 years. And so as making African medicine have prominence around the globe. So what are these processes that was done in the last 20 years to ensure that African medicine out there, it's, a force to reckon with?
Okay, thank you. There are a number of policies, especially let me talk about Nigeria. There are a number of policies that have been put in place. One of it is what we are doing today, the African Traditional Medicine Day, the celebration, so that we create awareness for everybody. I must let you know that a lot of people are using this traditional medicine, these herbal medicines. But then if we don't get it out there for us to know about it, then It may just be there where it is in the rural places. So the federal government of Nigeria is doing a lot, especially this celebration day. Then we've also tried to sanitize the traditional medicine practitioners. We want them to be in an association that is recognized by the government, because we are gearing towards integration or even co-recognition of traditional medicine in our healthcare development system. But we have to find a way of letting people even know that these things exist. They are standardized. Let them know that they should be standardized, so that everybody will be able to access this traditional medicine and the herbal medicines, especially that are being used. I'm sure Haji will be able to throw more light on that.
Yes, Professor McDonald talked about, them thinking our medicines are fetish. But it is a known fact that most of these, plants for these drugs are gotten from Africa. So how can they think along that line?
They do think along that line, because most of the people who practice this are not you and I. When you see them, you might not even want to go to them. They're in the rural areas. They don't dress well, sorry to say that. Most of them are not educated. And then when you even talk to them, they use incantations. Some of them use incantations. Those are things that you cannot prove scientifically. So it makes you and I doubt them, that if this incantation is not there, are these things going to work? So those are the challenges we have, but they work. It's just that we are used to activities, let me put it in quotes.
The Africanness in us.
In us. Yeah, activities, yes. Somebody tells you, I need to collect these plants in the morning. It has to be early in the morning. When you wake up, don't talk to anybody. Come out, just tie only wrapper, come out with your bag and all that, and we'll go to the farm, collect it early in the morning. Don't talk to anybody on your way and all that. Sometimes these plants contain volatile constituents that have to be collected early in the morning. But when it's shrouded in, all the fanfare of don't talk to anybody, tradition, then you think, oh, this is really going to work,
Wow, that's an aspect that we'll talk about, hopefully in the course of the conversation. Let's bring in now Dr. Uzu Robert Uzu, who was introduced a moment ago. Dr. Uzu, the comments made already by the other guests have pointed out some of the critical issues in traditional medicine or complementary medicine. And one of it, Professor Idu says, is the question of global acceptance. How much of a challenge is this struggle to achieve global acceptance, and what are the hindrances?
Thank you. I think like what Professor McDonald rightly said, that has been one of the biggest challenges facing with the herbal practitioner. The fact remains that this quote-unquote illiterate, these people did not go to school, what formulating has no standardization, no science into it, no dosage. You just keep drinking until you get better. That was the notion then. And that it became a challenge to we, the practitioner. Person like me, I have to look at it and say, okay, how can we now begin to educate the world, educate Nigerians that, look, it is not what we used to think about herbal medicine. It is not what we used to think about herbal practitioners, So we started getting another orientation. Let us first educate ourselves, make ourselves to be acceptable, make ourselves to understand that what we are doing is not what our forefathers used to talk about, where you go to the backyard and get dogoyaro and get mango leaf and get and boil and begin to drink as any quantity as you desire. But this time around, how can we standardize what we are doing? The environment where we practice it, how can you make it look presentable, look decent, look unique, so that, because it's everything, it's all about the mindset. So when a patient or a customer come in and see the environment where you are, he has two thoughts. One, I'm in the right place, or I'm in the wrong place. So these are the things we have done. And also, we have also decided to, improve our educational background in relation to the practice. So some of us have gone outside the shore of Nigeria to go and acquire some degree in complementary medicine, in acupuncture, and all this so that when we do it, then we can do it, get it right. So this is how we have also been able to prove to the Nigerians and Africa and the world at large that look, it's not what you have been thinking. And also the products themselves. It's not just now you must bring in science, talk to some institutions, like some of the practitioners are working with various institutions, NIPRID, some are working with the University of Benin. And you know, when we make a formulation, then we give it to them to look at it holistically. You talk about the phyto constituents, talk about the standardization, talk about those things that can help us to prove that yes, we have come up with, and the packaging and is there. So before we take it to NAFDAC and NAFDAC to certify the safety of the products, all these are all what we have done to help Nigerians to begin to recognize that what we are doing right now is not what they used to think before. And I'm so happy that government is paying adequate attention to see that we develop on a daily basis. I'm so excited. So thank you.
Dr. Uzu, thank you. I'm back to you, Pharmacist Zainab Sharif. You know, we cannot operate in isolation. We must be part of a global market. Yes. So how has the WHO and African Center for Disease Control been able to help us key into these processes of alternative medicine?
Okay, let me just start by saying it's good to, at this point, to note that WHO itself recognizes 3 systems of healthcare. The allopathic, you don't have an issue with that. That is the orthodox medicine. It has also recognized the traditional medicine because it knows that 70% of the rural populace have access to that. And of course, the complementary and alternative medicine. It's always good to understand traditional, complementary, and alternative medicine. Traditional medicine is your indigenous medicine, medicine of your culture, what your people use, what they use to manage ailments. But once this your traditional medicine goes out to another country, it becomes complementary or alternative medicine. Having said that, it is important to recognize what the government has done in the past 2 decades, just to mention a few, because I was waiting to be able to analyze this issue. The intervention in traditional medicine by the Nigerian government started as far back as 1966, where there was a need to take some professors from the University of Benin to go to Ibadan, to go to India and study how they do their own medicinal plants. Having done that, there has been a series of intervention. In 1997, a program was developed in what we call the Department of Planning, the Program of Traditional Medicine. It was a program by 1997. By 2007, it became a division. You know, gradually progress was going on. That led to the formulation and what we have, the policy of traditional medicine policy, which was launched in 2007. And then having said that, what were the other interventions that the government did? By 2008, we produced a document called the Herbal Pharmacopoeia, which is a document of our own indigenous plants. The first herbal pharmacopoeia had about 40 medicinal plants that are very indigenous to us, based on scientific evidences. Part of this, I'm glad to say that part of the membership of that committee, Professor McDonald Idu, when you see us always bringing him here, he's been with us right from the beginning at the government angle. Professor Yemisi, they are all part of that herbal pharmacopoeia. And currently we are reviewing that pharmacopoeia to include more plants, almost 100 plants, to be able to know that that will now be a reference document. Currently that document is a reference document to show Nigeria has a herbal pharmacopoeia, which is even the best in the West African sub-region. That is one of what we have done. And then along the line, we brought the practitioners together. You know, they have this problem of co-religiosity. By 2008 and 2009, we supported them to establish a kind of association called the NTMP, National Association of Traditional Medicine Practitioners, because we needed to do that to have effective collaboration with them, for be able to understand, because we discover that they need training. We also need to learn from them, from their own, like I always call their traditional science. They have their own traditional science. We have the modern science. So let's see how we can marry these two together, just like the Chinese have done, just like the Indians have done. They call their own traditional medicine Ayurveda medicine. And they have a Ministry of Traditional Medicine in India. There are over 50 or 60 universities in China that are for traditional medicine. You begin to wonder why. Why are they having 60? Because they know they are going to research into their own indigenous plants. They will come out with fantastic products. All the Chinese products, all the Indian products, they are all over globally, assessing the $100 billion annually. We don't do much in Nigeria. And then what happened in 2010 to 2013, we thought the need to set up a committee to look into the aspect of training the practitioners at medical level. That means a doctor, a pharmacist, a nurse must have basic training in traditional medicine. It will be form part of your practice. Because what is the aim, the objective of traditional medicine in Nigeria, according to the policy, is to gradually integrate traditional medicine into the main healthcare delivery system. You can't do that if there are no institutional frameworks. You can't do that if there are no policy. If you can't do that if there are no documents or guidelines to do this practice. I'm glad to say that we have achieved that. At regional level, African Union. What has African Union done? SON, Standard Organization of Nigeria, has come up with what we call about 10 standards. You know, when you talk of standardization, when every day we talk about no dosage, no standardization, I do say that since I was born, that is the same story. No dosage, no standardization. Does it mean we are not progressing? No, we are progressing. Because like I said, standard organization, we now have 10 standards. Standards, for example, how do you cultivate the medicinal plants? That is what we call the green gold. There's a lot of commercial viability. You know, the secret now is that people come from outside, they come to us, take our plants and go and massively cultivate it and package it. But we inside, we disregard our own. Look at the neem tree. I know people have been requesting for neem tree. Then you begin to wonder, why do they want the neem leaves? With the outbreak of corona, people were calling us from United States everywhere. We need neem leaf, neem leaf. I was wondering why because there was some belief, because you know the neem tree contains quinine. So there is that belief that it may have some of the properties as then thought about in the aspect of this. And like I said, we have done the training. We have developed ethics and code of practice for the practitioners to be able to do that. And then, of course, the mind-blowing by the department, by the government, is the setting up of a whole department to look into these two aspects in 2018. We've done well. We have been able to achieve. We are reviewing all these documents, revising them, making them, and we have participated in international conferences with the view to promote Nigerian medicine. Last year we were in Dubai. I saw the Ghanaians had a pavilion. They were selling all their products. We went for a study tour. This year they are inviting us. What is the magic? They said they have had enough Ayurvedic medicine, that is the Indian medicine. They have had enough of Chinese. They believe the African component. You know, when you say these practitioners do the magic of saying incantation, that is the stimulus for those countries. Do you understand? We look at it that what are they doing? But they said when those your practitioners do those things, there is magic in the plant, which is quite different from the other plants. You know, when they say that, I just amazed. I can't say no, but that is the way to promote my country.
But do we need a traditional medicine policy?
It's
like
there already. We are revising it in 2007. We are now trying to revise that. And at WAHO, West African Health Organization, it member states of the ECOWAS member states. There are times quarterly conferences. They bring back all these regional 15 member states where we have trying to harmonize the practice. Because we have said once my medicine leaves Nigeria, goes to Ghana, it becomes alternative medicine. So when we meet at that forum, we look at the harmonization. But what I feel not too impressed about, we need to do more. We need a strong political will. Political will for us to support research of our own. NIPRID is there, NEMA is there. The Government, we must spend money on our own research. We should not rely on those foreign donors. It is time we take that, because this is our own. You cannot ask somebody to give you money to cook your food. You have to work to get money to cook your food. So we are challenging the political leaders to support and put funds in this research so that Nigeria can come out with fantastic products that can lead to job creation, because we are going to massively cultivate these plants.
Yeah, I understand. Pharmacist Zena, but we'll get into the economics of complementary medicine presently. But let's bring in again Professor McDonald-Ido. Professor McDonald-Ido, there are a number of issues on the table already articulated by pharmacist Zainab, and those issues, of course, include the development of the pharmacopoeia. You may wish to elaborate on that for the benefit of our viewers. What does that mean? And that's one. Secondly, she's also itemized the number of milestones. What have been the transformative qualities of these milestones? But let's begin first with the pharmacopoeia development.
All right. That's a document, a national document that contains all that this quarrel is all about. Oh, standardization. Oh, this one. Oh, dosage and all that. So different forms of researches that have been done in this country, we look at them, we look at the various work that has been done, then we try to put them together and make a national document to say that, look, this plant has been worked on, this plant has been standardized, this plant has this, has that, has this, has that. So it becomes a reference. So anybody can take it anywhere in the world and say, this particular plant is indigenous in Nigeria, and these are the standards that have been established. These are the protocols that have been used and all that stuff. So it becomes a national document. And we are actually not doing well, even with that. The reason being that if you look at other countries, they've established different volumes. And we are just struggling now with reviewing the first volume after so many years, over 10 years. And
why are you struggling now?
I believe one thing, that we should take bureaucracy out of the way. There are things that should be urgent to us. Things that will project us as a country should be urgent. The encouragement, the finance, the push to get into it is just lacking. It's not there. So let us see it this way. If the political wing is addressed in terms of encouragement, I believe that we can go very, very far. Very, very, very far. So the finances that are needed to do this job is not something you just sit down to do. It's a lot of work. A lot of work. Professor Lujoba is the chairman of this particular one. When we come for meeting, it's a lot of work, brain work, to be able to put these documents together. And because we want to do it right, we have to put in a lot of energy. And when we don't have finance to call for even meetings, and we don't have finance to even do printing, we have to look for sponsors, we have to look for this and all that, it becomes really discouraging.
Professor Kunle, what is the issue with developing further the national pharmacopoeia? Arising from that is, what has been the utility of the existing pharmacopoeia?
Well, as he has mentioned, we have the challenge of finance to develop it. And then collating, because it's a lot of work. We are looking at plants that have been in use over time. We're not looking at new plants. It's not that easy. So we're looking at plants that have been in use. That's what we're putting to a pharmacopoeia. When we talk of a pharmacopoeia, think of the orthodox drugs. They have a collation. So when you pick it, acetaminophen, this is how it is done. This is the concentration. This is the weight you need in 1 tablet of paracetamol. That's exactly what we try to do with this pharmacopoeia. As a director indica, as she said, neem leaves. What quantity do you need? How is it processed? This is how it should be processed. You boil for this minute, you extract this way, and all that. What are the constituents in it? Where is it gotten? When is it harvested? Where is which habitat? Those are the informations we put inside the pharmacopoeia, so that when I pick it, I, as a person, I should be able to reproduce whatever is written there. You, wherever you are, when you pick that pharmacopoeia, you should be able to reproduce whatever is written there in terms of the as a director indica. That's what the pharmacopoeia is all about. It's a standardization, an instruction for you to produce these herbal drugs. So we need to investigate more of our plants, not just these ones that have history. We also have to look at the fresh ones and document information on them. But if you don't have the finances, you will not be able to move forward.
Where normally is the locus, if you like, for developing the pharmacopoeia? Is it individual researchers, or is it domiciled, say, in the Federal Ministry of Health, or is it domiciled, say, in NIPRID, or domiciled in a department? Who should be the driver, who should be the coordinator, and therefore, where should funding come from? But from which we are not getting at the moment.
That's a policy angle now, so I am forced to come in at this time. You know, let me say that, you know, I started by saying, you must first believe in ourselves. We must believe in our own. If we do that at governmental level, I am a government worker, and there is a need for us, for example, the Federal Minister of Health. Let me commend the current ministers. Maybe because of my push and my drive, the support is much more better than before. That's why we are talking about the second review. You can imagine the first review was 2008. How many years? 12 years. Successive governments have come. Successive ministers have come. It depends on how they believe. You know, there has been, to be sincere, let us call a spade, the belief for traditional medicine has been very, very negative. Even when you talk to the scientists, you talk to the you talk to the political leaders. No, this is fetish. We've said that. But however, there is now light, very good light beginning to come out of the tunnel. So we can see that. That's why we are going to revise the second one. And even now, you know, we are producing what we call the essential medicinal plant list. First ever in West Africa.
What does that mean?
That essential medicinal is a small, simple reference that can be used for everybody. For example, on common medicinal plants, essential, just like we have the essential medicine list in the Orthodox way, in the Orthodox medicine, having the generic names. So we pick these plants. For example, we take moringa. Basically, what is the property of moringa? What quantity of moringa do you need? How do you prepare a good infusion that will give you the desired effects that you want? So it's a reference document because we need to allow the populace. Another challenge we have is that we tend to look at it within our own image of scientists, trying to talk about it. But the populace too, the stakeholders must be carried along so that you as an ordinary person, if you know that there's a document coming from the Federal Ministry of Health that has been worked up by scientists, I think you have that comfort to use it. So that essential medicine list. And finally, after 13 years of following up the traditional and complementary council bill, it will soon be approved by the Federal Executive Council, which will now be sent to the National Assembly. You know, when we have a law now, it makes the practice easier. And what will be the effect of that law? We'll now have a traditional, complementary, and alternative medicine council. At state level, they have boards. At local government level, they have local government committees, all in a bid to synergize and regulate both the practice, the products, and the practitioners. So if you have council at federal level, you're going to have all the registrar, the chairman, and all members of the council. And the current, within the 2 weeks, in 2 weeks' time, the Honorable Minister of State will inaugurate the expert committee on the setting up of an institute of traditional and complementary medicine, typically looking at the practice of traditional medicine and products as is done in India. You know, there's this confusion. When you talk about herbal medicine, you talk about pharmaceutical drug, there is a difference.
What's the difference?
It will take the whole lecture here.
All right, very briefly. Let's clarify this.
Yes, let Prof come in. Yes.
We have two professors.
Yes, simple.
Herbal medicine, herbs from plants, just as it says, they are from plants. When pharmaceuticals, you've gone to take out the nitty-gritty. You've gone to isolate from these plants. That's basically the difference. When it's herbal medicine, you just take the whole plant as it is, you use. But when you're now going to pharmaceutical, you are scattering the herbal medicine, extracting the active principles. So that is no longer herbal. You are going into orthodox.
And then you also have synthetic medicine.
Of course.
Yeah.
They're all...
By the time you finish extracting, you can now play around with whatever you have extracted.
Yes.
Oh, you remove this bond, you add this bond to make it better. That's why you can have diclofenac sodium, diclofenac potassium. It's the same diclofenac. The main precursor is diclofenac. Then you start adding all sorts of salts to make it different, to suit different individuals. But herbal is just the whole thing.
And those who produce some standard or fake medicines where they say, for instance, if you were to pick up some analgesic, it will be all powder rather than active ingredients. That's the same way they also play around with it?
They add some unnecessary ingredients.
Yes.
You know, like she said, I just didn't want to be the only one talking too much on this. You see, the herbal medicine is a combination of plant materials, either the barks or the roots or the flowers or the areas combined together to produce a product believed to have synergy to give the desired effect. So that means you are not isolated. But pharmaceutically, strictly isolation process is a chemical and synthetic process that involves a lot of chemical analysis, like you said. We are looking for the active ingredient. And you know, it is not easy. In a whole plant made of so many thousands of components, scientific phytochemicals, constituents, I am looking for one. What will happen to those other ones? You will hit, jack, use chemicals, poisons, alcoholic constituents because you want to get that particular one. So that means you have changed the whole process. You have come out with a synthetic component. That is why it is often said that pharmaceutical drug can either be gotten from medicinal plants, taking them holistically, making them into phytomedicine like Prof will tell you, or you go into the laboratory for the chemical synthesis, which is what they do most of the time, working on the structures, trying to work on the structures to get those chemical constituents. And any chemical is a poison. So hence the need for desired dosage and caution.
Thank you, Professor Zainab Sharif.
Pharmacist
Zainab Sharif. You know, Professor McDonald, do you know, they said, you know, traditional medicines for centuries have been used to cure diseases. And let's come back now to the present COVID-19. It has sort of brought, you know, the alternative medicine, traditional medicine to the spotlight.
Yes.
So how are we keen into that?
Okay. Currently, we've been hearing a lot of reports. We've been attending a lot of meetings, trying to see how to get the key players together on a round table. But there's still a lot of work to be done. We have to be sincere with ourselves. As a nation, we have to be sincere. We must tell ourselves, yes, this is what I want to do. This is what I don't want to do. If we really want to do this, I believe that we can go a long way to get the solutions out. I know I told us some time ago that it's easy for us to really put this thing together and get a solution in this country. But if we're playing games with it, it will be very difficult for people to come together and get a way out of it. Today, we'll be having a lot of suggestions. Oh, this particular plant. Yeah, all we can look at currently is to look at the symptoms and then look at how we can take care of those symptoms. And so we can say, okay, this particular plant is good for this. A lot of work has been done in this country. They are right there on the shelves. Nobody is looking at them. But if we are able to put all these things together and have a channel way out where we can say, yes, you know, this particular work has been done, how can we improve on it, add value to it, and do this, do this, do this. We just found that sooner than we believe, something good will come out of this country concerning this particular pandemic.
Okay, thank you very much. Let's bring in again Professor Yemisi. Professor Yemisi, I mean, relevant to our conversation this morning are the issues of research, development, and then commercialization. How much of research and development do we have now with regard to available medicinal plants in Nigeria, and who is into that research?
Well, we are into research. As our name implies, National Institute of Pharmaceutical Research and Development. So we're into research of medicinal plants. My department is Department of Medicinal Plant Research and Traditional Medicine. So in the institute, everything takes off for my department. We have people who go out, talk to these traditional medicine practitioners, look at what they use, then we bring them into our institute. We try to simulate the way they use them there, and we do a lot of research. We actually don't go into taking out the active ingredients for my department. We work on the whole plant holistically. So we do a lot of research on that. Even before the COVID came, Ebola time, HIV time, we've had a lot of plants that we've worked on. Basically, not to attack the virus, because we don't have the wherewithal to attack the virus in this country. I believe it's only one private university I hear, because you need a BS, minimum of BS, biosafety lab, 3, minimum. Because you know these viruses are very, 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 very contagious. So we don't have that here. But we have, as you said, things that will boost the immunity. Because when you have ailments, you want to boost the person's immunity, you want to take care of the symptoms, as Professor Idu said. So we have a lot of products that can do that, a lot of herbs. When you think of the rural areas, that is what they depend on. We've done a lot of surveys in our institute, and in the rural areas, there are no primary health care. What they have are these traditional medicine practitioners, and you realize that our rural areas are still there. So they must be using something to sustain them. They are using these plants. And they also have all these ailments. So we are looking at all these plants that they use to treat these opportunistic infections. We do a lot of research on that, and we have them documented.
What is the level of collaboration? That's why I actually asked that question. Yes, your institute, NIPRID, as the name implies, would get into research. NIMRI is also there. That's the Medical Research Institute. And then, of course, you have people like Professor McDonald Idu. And I'm sure there are researchers elsewhere. Is there any collaboration, or everyone is working at shall we say, cross purposes? When you collaborate, what happens? When you don't collaborate, what happens?
For my institute, there's a lot of collaboration. We collaborate with universities. A lot of this research also go on in the university. Basically, everybody is now working on plants. I lecture in the University of Jos. Every department, every project is on plants. Microbiology is on plants. Pharmacology is on plants. So you can see the collaboration. I work with Jos. We have a lot of people in my institute who also teach in different universities. And we supervise students. Some of the products, some of the plants we have, we give it to our students to work on. We collaborate with NNMDA. We do a lot of searches for them. And even when people, traditional medicine practitioners, want to list their products with NAFDAC, some of the activities they need to do, they bring to our institute. And then we do this research for them. We collaborate with them, we authenticate it, and then they take it to NAFDAC for listing. What normally happens is, I wanted to talk about the compensation. That is where most of these traditional medicine practitioners are skeptical. They think that researchers don't want to take their product, and this is their source of livelihood. So most of them don't even want to give off this information. Most of them are old, and some of them even die with this product. So in my institute, as I said, we have somebody
with the knowledge.
With the knowledge, yes, they die with this knowledge because they don't want to give it up. A case in point is our popular product we have for management of sickle cell disease. We call it Niprisan. The person who gave it to us is late. But before he died, we had a kind of memorandum of understanding with him, which is into perpetuity. It gets royalty in perpetuity. Even though he's dead, whatever comes out of our product, Niprisan, his family gets something. That is the kind of thing they want. They want compensation. If you don't give them compensation, they will not give you anything. So we have that in place in my institute, whereby we have somebody who goes out our surrounding, goes to the traditional medicine practitioners, collects the information they have. We have everything documented. When we think there's something really good, we want to work on it, we call the traditional medicine practitioner. We want to do something with this. Let us have discussion. Sometimes it is a one-off thing. Oh, we buy it off you. Sometimes we say, okay, as we work, we'll give you something. Sometimes the person says, when you finish working, whatever comes out of it, let us share. So we do a lot of collaboration with TMPs, universities, and other research institutes.
Okay, Professor Emisi, thank you. We'll now go to Dr. Uzu, Robert Uzu. We've been talking about the relationship between private and public sectors and research communities on African, medicines and the factors militating against large-scale production of this traditional medicine. So, what is your take on that?
Thank you. You see, let me just start by appreciating what Professor Yemi said when it comes to the issue of collaboration between the practitioners and the research institutes. But it gone beyond that. It's more than what we are saying. And okay, from her own point of view, that is what her department is doing. But is there any policy that guarantee intellectual property of the practitioners? And the answer is no. So how can a practitioner, be able to have the confidence that this, my formulation that I'm going to bring in, that I will have my royalty? And that is why the practitioners are skeptical about releasing their formula. So until the government create policies that will protect the intellectual property of the practitioners, we can't go anywhere. So the earlier we begin to understand that there should be a synergy, there should be a collaboration. Like, for example, I want us to also stop saying these guys, these people are illiterate. I mean the practitioners, like most of them. If they're illiterate, how are they managing the health of the people in the rural area? Of course, we all understand that 80% of those living in rural areas patronize them. So how are they managing these people? So all they needed is a guideline. All they needed is a form of training that can help them to harmonize what they are doing and get it right. So I want us to stop using the language they are illiterate, because they're not illiterate. Someone who is illiterate cannot manage health of individual. Then this policy I mentioned, we will be advocating on this. We will be advocating on this. And then the second one again is, I have a formulation. I bring it to the table. Then who fund it? This COVID-19 that so many practitioners have worked on, and federal government did the right thing by bringing in most of the practitioners and say, okay, come out with your formulation and let us see how we are going to support you. And we have been having series of meetings. We have met with the NAFDAC agency. We have met with the Department of TCAM, with the ministers. And up till now, the practitioners are doing this on their own individually. And we all understand that it's not easy. Research work, the one we did in the University of Benin, we spent no less than 1.5 million. So is it easy? So we need to begin to put all what we have said into practice. We need to put them into practice so that we will be able to have a headway. If we keep doing the same paperwork, keep doing just advocacy and talking, and no much implementation, it's a challenge. So I'm asking government to look beyond the paperwork we have done. These people, they're gifted, they're talented. Otherwise, if it is easy, then the professors should be the one to be producing about medicine. This is like a gift, and so how can they be guided, bringing in professors, to an institute, researchers, and make them feel comfortable when they're in their midst. And I think that will help us a lot.
Okay, Dr. Ozo, I still want to stay with you. You've raised two very important points. Let's take the first one, which has to do with intellectual property. You say there is need for a government policy to guarantee intellectual property of persons in the rural areas who have the formulae for various traditional remedies. Now, I doubt if that is necessary, because you already have an office in charge of technology acquisition and patents. Yes. So, which again raises the issue of collaboration. Incidentally, we've had on Good Morning Nigeria, the Director General or the head of NOTAP come to discuss what needs to be done by various researchers, how they need to register their patents, or how they need to secure the intellectual property of what they are doing. Now, in the event that those in the, shall we say, in the primary research area, that's to say those in the rural areas, I'm referring to them loosely now as primary research areas, in the event that they are not familiar with these various processes, and therefore they hoard the information that they have, that they ordinarily will give to more advanced researchers, would it not be advisable, therefore, that for practitioners like yourself and indeed others who, as we have said, will be looking for a new policy, go to NOTAP and say, NOTAP, what is the way to go? This is one challenge that we have. Do you find that feasible?
I doubt if that will actually work, because this issue is what we'll be discussing each time we have meeting. In fact, I'm so also impressed with the level of attention that been given to this by the DG of NAFDAC, Professor Christiana. She have done so much in bringing in the practitioner and bringing in the legal advisors and seeing how we can, work together and collaborate. The truth of the matter is, we are human beings, and of course, we understand the situation. So it's gone beyond just what we can give it to the researchers or the institute. I feel when there is a solid, conviction, and that conviction will not come from policy. Yes, that way there is a strong conviction that, look, whatever you're going to bring him in the table, you will be protected. That cannot be done without a policy. That policy is very important. And why the policy is because we can sue, we can go to court. So the moment any party defer, violate, then we go to court. And it's only a policy that can guarantee you that when you go to court, you can get your justice, you can get your right. That's why the practitioners are insisting that the federal government should create policies that will guide us, that will guide our intellectual property. Not just with the institutes alone or with a research. Even that policy, for example, I can choose to do individual. I can choose to collaborate with a professor, of any of professor of pharmacognosy or phytomedicine. I can choose to collaborate with them, but because there's a guiding policy from the federal point of view, federal government angle, then I understand, he understands, and we agree, and that is it. So two of us or both of us will be guided by the policy. So that is why we are insisting that policy is the best way to go for this collaboration.
Okay, Dr. Ozu, thank you very much. I'm not a discussant, but I just want to make the point again and maybe bring in pharmacist Zainab. NOTAP is already there. It's established by law, so you don't need any superfluous policy to help protect your intellectual property. Yes. And the protection of intellectual property depends on doesn't depend on whether you are an individual or an institution. As an individual, if you have a formulation and the formulation is one that is patentable, you go to NOTAP and it is protected. And when somebody then infringes upon that patent, you then sue. But you also know that litigation is not cheap. Well, pharmacist Zainab, let's bring you in again one more time. We seem to have a need to clarify some of these issues so that the mental obstacles can be broken down. Quickly, your thoughts.
She just gave an example of a product, a practitioner, so many years ago. There was that patency in that. And I just want to mention that yesterday, the 31st, we had a program. And the program was Potentials of Medicinal Plants in the Management of COVID-19. He was a speaker. We had speakers all over. We tried to see how can we bring what is the journey so far on these potentials of medicinal plants. Fantastic inputs we got, because you earlier mentioned about COVID-19. So they mentioned so many plants. Like she said, most of the plants were focused on boosting immunity because nobody has a cure. We are all searching, cocktail, looking for. So there is definitely that need to tell our viewers, to tell Nigerian populace what they can do apart from the basic guidelines, established protocols, the washing of hands, the social distance, and of course, where necessary, the use of hand sanitizer. At the local government level, what happened is that when you go to some states now, you just wonder, nobody has face masks. Why are they not? Curiosity. I stopped at a train station in Kaduna. Then I heard somebody saying vitamin C, vitamin C. He was calling vitamin C. So I laughed because that has to do with COVID-19, because we are talking of boosting the immunity. So they were practitioners. I went there, tried to look at what they were saying. Very interesting. You know, they were selling plants that boost the immunity. So what are we saying? Even at local level, I said God has a way of protecting his people. Yes. Whether whatever level they are, at that level, this is what they can use to support. And then you wonder why they are not dying. God is the creator of human being, and we believe he determines when you will die. So they were using plants, the velvet tamarind, which is blackish. It has a black cover, and then inside the seed is orange. It's a lot of vitamin C there. And then they have the desert fruit, you know the desert fruit? They were using it, adua we call it. And then of course the baobab tree, which has been known as a superfood by the European Union, declared in 2018 as superfood. These are things that we have.
Why is it a superfood?
Because of the high content of nutrients. 100 milligrams of baobab powder will give you 30 milligrams of vitamin C. So based on that research, and we have this.
You know,
we have this.
You know, well, all right, we're going to
For
have
example,
to take...
but I just want to, this is kind of a distraction, but we must always talk about positive things for the benefit of our...
Because growing up, I remember in Maiduguri, gum Arabic, we just go to a tree, we pick it, gum our books, we take it when we're purging, and the neem tree there, we just go there, remove this, you know, we remove this.
God is giving you his own mercy, and
then
you are
never
being
sick.
immune.
Yes,
so
we're never
you
sick.
see these local ones, I was saying, they said we are all going to die in Africa on the ground. Then I saw these practitioners, I said that is interesting. And this is what has been worked on. All they were selling has been worked on. But what I want to say is the synergy now. Very important. You see, so many institutions are stakeholders. We have raw material, which has the mandate to produce raw materials, pharmaceutical raw materials, herbal raw materials. We are now going into collaboration because we must stop this attitude, is my own territory, don't come in, which is what is happening to all of us. I'm being sincere. You see NIPRID saying is only me, and then NAFDAC is saying only me, and even NEMA is saying only me, and then even natural medicine. No, we are policy makers. No, we shouldn't do that. That's what I'm saying. We are all guilty.
But how are
but
you know,
what I'm doing now, for example,
yes.
you can see in my own department, why am I bringing experts? You see, they are all coming from, you see them from Lagos coming, because we need to bring them together. We must follow that synergy. I'm now trying to collaborate with raw materials for the massive cultivation of Artemisia annua. We said the Madagascar story, which we would have had better in Nigeria.
What is the relationship with the subnationals there?
Yeah, I'll
like
just...
yes.
Juma, that's a very pertinent question.
Yeah.
The rector is indicating that we're going to have to take a commercial break. Yeah. A number of points have been raised. When you look at the baobab tree, just as she was talking about, it was my daughter who first drew my attention to there's a powder from the baobab tree. And I was wondering, baobab, it looks like a useless mighty tree in arid land. But here we are, it's a huge source of medicine, as we are being told. It's Good Morning Nigeria. We'll take a short break now.
A new edition of TV Guide is out, featuring great personalities from all walks of life. Expository interview with a young TV presenter who shows passion on what she does, Morayo Afolabi Brown of TVC. Pick a copy of this compendium of mind-blowing stories and get abreast with issues as regards media convergence, leadership, health, star profiles, star programs, fashion, sports, human angle stories, and lots more. Meet some media professionals within our space who have paid their dues in no small ways. TV Guide, very incisive, very educative and compelling. Grab a copy at the vendor near you or NTA stations nationwide. TV Guide, your indispensable companion.
As a strong immune system increases the chances of victims surviving COVID-19, a corruption-free society creates opportunities for citizens to thrive and prosper. Build your immunity. Stop corruption now. Report all acts of corruption to ICPC on this toll-free number 0800 22 55 4272. This message is brought to you by ICPC and NTA.
You're welcome back, and we've been discussing about alternative and traditional medicine. And we'll now go to Professor McDonald Idu. Let's talk about the economics of alternative medicine in Nigeria. Prof.
Yep. As of today, there's no coordination. The market is huge. The world trade is mind-blowing. We are hoping in the next 2 to 3 years it will hit about $1 trillion. And we don't have any document to show that Nigeria is benefiting in any way. And this is very sad. I remember some years ago, the President Obasanjo, instituted a PIC, Presidential Initiative Committee, and along the way, when he left, the whole foundation crumbled, and we couldn't get anything out of it. Then he gave a mandate for us to get $1 billion in 1 year, and we are hoping that that's even small if we're able to get it right. We had some invitations to study other countries, and we're able to pick out the exact things to do. But today, nobody is talking about that committee, and Nigeria is not making one kobo as a nation. But individuals are just there. They are doing whatever thing they want to do. They export whatever they want to export. But there's no coordination at all.
So how are we keen into the 7 trillion by
Nothing,
2020?
zero for now.
Why is that?
There's some hope. Let me say this. It can be
from
all
Mr.
negative.
Zainab,
Yes.
earlier we indicated, and just
Yes.
as well that Jumai has raised this issue now on the economics of traditional medicine.
Yes.
We appear to be fringe players in that market.
Yeah, that is
How do we begin to approach the center stage, assuming we have all the modalities and the infrastructure and indeed the driving force?
Institutional framework, glad there is going to be in council place. The institute will be there, and today the Honorable Minister of Health is talking to 50 practitioners who have submitted products in the management of COVID-19. So he's going to have an interactive session, webinar section. What do you have? We're all looking at that aspect to be able to look at, standardize our own, list our own for possible commercialization. What is important is that even NAFDAC, when it lists your products, is safe for consumption. You can commercialize and get that benefits, which is very important to us. And it is important to know that not only that, we have been able to know some potentials. Like I said, we participate in exhibition. This year, the Ministry of Health, we are looking at some specialized practitioners whose products are safe. Togo, United Arab Emirates are looking for market. They are looking for medicinal plants for Africa. So we hope to go into that. But locally, like I said now, what people don't know is that one of the great potentials, one of the great foreign exchange earner for Madagascar is medicinal plants. So it is not surprising when it came out with a formula to say it has cure. Do you know the cloves? Cloves is a conifer. They call it. It's one of the greatest export of Madagascar. Tanzania exports cloves. Vincristine, vinblastine, an anti-cancer plant, goes to the market from Madagascar. They earn their own dollars there. In Cameroon here, they have their own potentials. Prunus africana, which they use in the management of prostrate. These are products. What they do, the foreigners go to Cameroon, they build their roads, they build their schools, and they get job creation. For us, because of lack of political will, we must have things in place, the policy must be in place. But let us not say that there is nothing being done. What we are looking at is to bring the stakeholders, even the practitioners, give them the basic training they need so that we can look at their products. We need to look at the non-oil. In medicinal plants, which we have over 8,000 species in Nigeria, the best species we have is moringa. I told you the other time. India makes $6 billion annually. We should be able to package, and you don't even have to, the value chain is either as a raw material, either semi-processed, and you go to the value chain. So whichever one is added, if there is proper coordination, Export Promotion Council, look at this aspect of medicinal plants. Call the right people. Mexico is buying our hibiscus sabderifa, $28 million last year. These are potentials that we can do. We're even going to go into cultivation of Artemisia. Why? Because we know the potential. The whole world has finished researching on Artemisia. So there is nothing you are going to do that is strange. What we want is the quality of artemisinin in your own Artemisia. When it was growing in Nigeria, it's very important to know.
You know what?
Yeah.
Let's still on the economics of this. Let's bring it down. So that, say, from the research lab to the shelf, where the customer picks it up. I'm sure a number of us, minus those of you who are researchers into phytomedicine and all that, we all noticed with the spike in the COVID-19 cases in the country and the quest to boost immune system.
So many.
Vitamin C, 1,000 milligram. If you went to any pharmacy shop in Abuja, well, they will tell you imported on account of exchange rate. Before now, it was around about 2,000 naira for about 60 tablets or so. One a day, that will last you about 2 months. But now, in Abuja, price gouging, you cannot get that thing for less than 5,000 or even 7,000. And I was saying to myself, at some point, 7,000 for 2 months. Then zinc. If you were looking for zinc, 50 milligram or 100 milligram, the price was 3 times the normal price that you used to have. And there are many sources of zinc, natural. I mean, the more you read, the more you get to know about these things. So, how do we channel all of these products into our pharmaceutical manufacturing enterprises? To be honest with you, without being disrespectful to the pharmaceutical section of the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria, it is scandalous that we are importing vitamin C into this country. And there are all kinds of fruits that you have. Zainab was talking a while ago about all kinds of powders and stuff. So how do you move from the research lab to the shelf for the customer?
I was going to come into this, especially when you talked about economics. I was privileged to attend a program in Export Promotion Council, and I realized that a number of people, albeit very few, are exporting some of these herbal products. For instance, I found people who were exporting hibiscus sabderifa to Germany. They say they use it for wine there. So people are doing, but at a very low scale. Of course, you need good agricultural practice. The standardization comes from cultivation, from planting, which, we may not be able to do well here.
Why not? If you have extension services workers.
Yes. But then for these people who are exporting, they must have met the international standard. So something is going on somewhere. Now, when it comes to commercialization, that is the gap that we see happening. We are into research, a little development, then we need somebody to fly with our results of research. But that gap is missing. That was what happened to our NIPRISAN. We did the research, it took a number of years. We have these results. Who do you give it to fly with it and make it into large scale? Because my institute is not for large scale. That gap was missing. Our companies in Nigeria are used to finished products. Just give me the finished product. Let me package it in bottles and sell. We don't have companies who are ready to go on with our research to large scale.
Why
because
is that not possible?
Possibly because of finances.
Consumer attitude nature of Nigeria.
Finances. And then when you think of power, what they need to make these products will be too much compared to just importing it. For instance, when we had PTF, that was the trust fund, petroleum trust fund, we're making paracetamol tablets. But they found out that the cost for making it in Nigeria was far above getting it imported.
Why?
You know why? Contracts, the API has to come by contracts, which will have its markup. So by the time you finish all the people are giving the raw material, bottlenecks. So by the time you finish adding all those, the cost of production is more than getting the imported one. So
that could be the result of dumping. If we are talking about the economics of it.
Yeah, because of commercialization.
I'm sorry. Let's get this clear so that when policymakers, the general viewers, watchers of Good Morning Nigeria, we thank them for always tuning in. Here is a point. As part of the mitigation measures for the consequences of COVID-19, the federal government, through the Central Bank of Nigeria, made some financial outlay for the pharmaceutical industry. Now, how much do we know about the conditions for the utilization of those funds? Is there patronage of research findings or patronage of local suppliers for all of this? That's part of what I would like Pharmacist Zainab, because you are the policy framework. Is there any coordination to all of this to say, look, how do we energize or stimulate local demand and then patronize local producers for all of this?
Honestly, that sense is low. There has been no enough looking at that aspect to bring in. But however, it's better late than never. I'm sure that was why NIPRID will now be funded for some research. There has been an improved funding for NIPRID. I want to commend the DG NIPRID, who has been all up and doing to be able to get funding. So we are hoping within the shortest time possible, NIPRID should come up with some. And then some of this, maybe you need to ask one of these practitioners, Dr. Ruzu, what has he done so far? I'm sure there is that synergy between him and the University of Benin, trying to see how they can patronize. Even some people that I know are trying to assess to see how they can get this funding, but it's not easy. But what is important, the lacuna she has said is that there must be a central place or a committee that can look at this, bring in all these tangible products that are worth commercialization, so that we can now develop a value chain for it. My minister said he's going to inaugurate expert committee. And the purpose of that expert committee is to look into this commercialization of medicinal plants, which we would have done many years ago. But politicians come, ministers come, area of interest is not done. Traditional medicine is, even the COVID-19, how many times have I been in the studio saying the same story? But now you can see there is some progress, and we pray that better late than never, we can compete. And now there is a desire for our own plants. So it's a challenge, and I think we can do better. And the advocacy should continue.
Let me just comment briefly here. It is not when you have a fire, you start setting up a fire station.
Yes.
That is what is happening now.
Yes.
You should have had things in place before we now get this money. For instance, you need equipment. What the CBN wants is for us to have done something, and then it's ready for commercialization. But we don't even have the wherewithal to start the research. You don't have the equipment. The money going to be given to you, we cannot buy equipment with it, but we don't even have the equipment yet to do all this. So when you now say we should bring up products, from where are we going to bring these products? For instance, when the Ebola came, my institute did a lot of research, one of the professors in my institute, and found out that chloroquine with an antiviral and vitamin C was good. He did a lot of research, was good for the Ebola pandemic then. But then we didn't have the wherewithal to shout, to take it up. So it was just then the cola. They published a paper on it.
Well, that is one challenge. Before we bring in Dr. Ozu, we had this connection off a while ago. Professor McDonald, one of the complaints that we often have about our environment is that research findings, good as they are gathering dust on the shelf.
It's
How
sad.
do we overcome that?
It's sad.
How do we overcome it?
It's sad. Now, it's, I don't know, we just need to have this drive. My heart is just full, with so many things. I went for a conference in Florida some years ago, and the organizers, they gave an announcement that the United States government set up a committee to go around all the institutions to collect findings and all that, and then pull them together to see how best they can utilize those findings. Interest matters here. If we want to develop as a country, we can't leave out research and development, R&D. And it's not just putting the R&D and putting it on the shelf, activating it, making it to work. So I believe that as a country, the way we can make it to work is sit down again and look at what is present on ground and look at where we are going. We should be able to have foresight. Nigerians, we don't like knowledge. We have all the, we can really do a plan for 5 years, 10 years, but implementation is the key. How do we implement this thing? We can talk and talk and talk. Implementation. So I believe that if we're able to sit down, get down to this university, there are not too many universities in Nigeria, get down to these universities, collect this data, have an assemblage of this data, analyze them, and see the ones that are really positive, that could have a positive impact on the national economy, and then blow it up. We don't have equipment. We don't have anything.
But if you don't have equipment, I believe the WHO and the African Center for Disease Control, there are grants that come into countries. Have you not been able to access them to be able to get this equipment for research?
I wish I would have to answer this.
No, I would like you to answer that.
But the truth of it is that because of the situation in Nigeria, when you write for such grants, Nigeria is not really attended to. Very, very few.
Why is that? Is our presence not felt?
Yeah, they are. They know that, look, you have to move from this area, maybe to collaborate with somebody outside, to do a cutting-edge research. We don't have the facilities for cutting-edge research.
All right. Well, that will be part of the focus going forward. Dr. Uzu, Robert Uzu, let's bring you in again. In this case, we're talking about commercialization of existing research findings. Why does this also appear to be a challenge? Let me give you, by way of repetition, what I said earlier, assuming you were off line at the time. Look, as simple as vitamin C is, why does Nigeria need to import vitamin C? And you say, the various, if you go to the pharmacies, you can see their names. This one is from US, the other one is from UK. And the prices, that's where our forex is going. And you say there's pressure on the Naira. Is it difficult for us to produce vitamin C here? And if we are not producing it, why is that so?
It is not difficult to produce vitamin C and every other local formulated products that have been imported into the country. I think it's just because, one, we are here to identify ourselves, believe in what we know and what we are capable of doing. Everything is boiled down to individual benefits. This commercialization is all about individual benefits. Let me give you a mind-blowing shock. Nigeria can have, the government of Federal Republic of Nigeria can generate 40% of their GDP on medicinal plants if we pay adequate attention. Now, let me use myself as a case study. 12 years ago, I started this with 2,500 Naira. Today, we have a state-of-the-art machine for production of all what we are doing. So what am I saying? How did we get it? Just money in herbal medicine, just money in medicinal plants. I wish the federal government can begin to look inward and tap into this ocean that is giving Kenya, is giving Sri Lanka, is giving India and China a breakthrough financially. So it is just because of individual benefit that is making us to keep importing all this. Give a practitioner 3 months, they will come out with different formulation for vitamin C. Give them the attention. Just give them the audience. Give them the funds that they need. They will produce vitamin C. You have over 20 different brands of vitamin C in a space of 3 months. So we need government attention. We need government awareness. We want government to begin to look at what we are doing and pay adequate attention to it so that individuals who are sabotaging our efforts, we push them out. I think that is one. Then the second one is whatever we are also producing, we need to bring in government. For example, government can collaborate with a practitioner. We have government. I'm so happy with what my mommy said, Sheriff, that talk about government bringing, identifying 15 practitioners so that they can look at what they are doing and how government can support them. If government come and collaborate with these practitioners, there will be a collaboration, there will be a percentage. Okay, this is your product, have been seen that it can adequately take of this particular thing. So government want to take it over from you. How much is the cost? How much is, you know, all these things are just about we understanding each other and believing that we can make it right in Nigeria. So we really need to go beyond all that is happening right now and begin to look inwards and bring in sincerity of purpose, bring in genuity, so that remove the politics angle in it. And believe you me, with the strength of Department of Traditional and Complementary Medicine, which they are putting right now, in less than 3 years, we can begin to export our products to the Shore of Africa and the world in large.
But Pharmacist Zainab, how do we do away with lip service in Nigeria?
You know, from my little experience in all this, I've seen a lot, the good, the bad, and ugly. But one spirit in me says this is what God has destined me to do. Because you find that what is she doing with these people? I'm one of them. That's one. So being one of them and believing in one of them and trained as a pharmacist gives me that opportunity to drive this agenda. And I have not stopped driving this agenda. There are things I may not say here. There are things I know I'm doing behind the scene. One of these is a compilation of a encyclopedia of medicinal plants, which over 500 pages, which will soon be out. That's in a bid to look at that area of commercialization and bringing down together. What we need is that we need to talk to the politicians. There's a need to carefully focus on this agenda of bringing out potentials of medicinal plants, supporting the research institute. Give them a mandate. We don't want research that has no ending. Okay? Even when they say some of the research institutes need to readdress and reassess their researches so that it will be applied researches, come out with products, and then we look at that collaboration, the market, the researchers, the policymakers. There must be that kind of collaboration to be able to drive this agenda. But better late than never, there's still hope. We must be progressives. And I know we are doing better and we could do much, much better.
All right.
With God on our side, we'll move forward.
You are Director and Head of Complementary and Alternative Medicine, Federal Ministry of Health. Do you have equivalent positions at the state level?
Yes. That's why I was telling you that in 2019, the National Council of Health approved the establishment of such department at states level. You know, health is not in the exclusive list, it's on the concurrent list. We can always recommend. That approval was given. But good enough, some states have commenced that. And then again, with this council, at the level of states, they're supposed to be boards. Very good. Some states already have boards. A state in case, do you know the Traditional Medicine Board in Lagos is doing fantastic well. So these are some of the things that we are pushing.
Okay. Pharmacist Zainab Sharif Ujudud, Director and Head of Complementary and Alternative Medicine, Federal Ministry of Health. As always, it's been a pleasure to have you.
Thank you very
You've
much.
educated and, you know, told Nigerians what they should do to stay healthy.
Thank
and
you.
Professor Yamisi Kunle, Professor of Pharmacognosy and Drug Development, Department of Medicinal Plants Research and Traditional Medicine, Nigerian Institute of Pharmaceutical Research and Development. Thank you so much for your input.
Thank you.
Professor MacDonald Idu, Professor of Phytomedicine, University of Benin. Good to have you as always on the program, and your input also. We thank you for it.
Thank you very much.
And Dr. Robert Uzu, Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer, Ruzu Holistic Healthcare. It's a pleasure as always to have your input on this program. We've learned a lot, we've been educated, and I'm sure Nigerians have really learned from it. Well, Sports Update is next.